So yesterday was the Bethesda showcase, more Starfield, 45-minute long reel of this game's attributes, which are starting to look pretty damn strong. One thing I did notice on YouTube is there's no frame counter on the settings. That's first for me. It ran at 30 frames per second. It was announced at 30 frames per second. That's obviously a creative decision from the team at Bethesda. I don't mind if it means we see 4K and loads of details on these planetary systems, buildings, you name it. I think it has caused a bit of controversy, but they obviously couldn't do it. They want to go for fine detail here as opposed to a smooth frame rate system. And you see a little bit of judder in and out that trailer. But what's this video about? Well, every Tom, Dick and Harry has put out a sort of review of that 45 minutes. There was nothing major in that 3/4 of an hour that I hadn't seen already. But there is some really cool creatures and aliens showcased in the video. Loads more than I initially thought, so we're going to look at them all, sort of pinpoint if we can work out if there are species groups, what their attacks might be like. Just briefly, back to that 30 frames per second thing, I think the best place to play Starfield will be on a big rig or PC on Game Pass day one. So you're not paying full whack for it and you're getting to run it at full specs. I'm not sure how the S and X are going to fare up with this game.
Starfield is our first new universe in over 25 years.
Anyone else get any No Man's Sky PTSD? Seeing that little thing scuttling over there, it could be repeat assets on a lot of indigenous life. I'm really keen to get to the bottom of that, but from what we're shown on this trailer, most of it seems really quite broad on scope.
And it wasn't until now that we had the technology.
This dude kind of interests me. Quite tall, it looks like something that is passive, vegetarian, not too aggressive, but I like the idea of height. They're almost going for sort of paleo-esque, quite grounded in design, and we saw some fur there. Probably one of the most interesting aliens we've seen so far in this reel. Notice they've got these flat backs. They could easily be mounts in this, and we did get a little tease about being able to befriend certain aliens. Now that one's super interesting. This dude jumping down, this freeze frame, this looks to be very much like a cutscene, and it's great to see two indigenous species fighting each other. I get Outer Worlds vibes with that like crocodile dude on the left, but that arachnid slash massive thing, he kind of crops up at the end as well, I think.
The United Colonies is where you'll find New Atlantis, the first major human settlement in space.
Next up we got this guy based outside of the New Atlantis city. One of my favourite sort of designs. I love the flower head. I was thinking they may be passive, but we do have footage of them attacking you, and the cool stick insect leg system. It's a very welcome image, and I'm hoping that the variety is going to be this cool throughout. There's also like this bar scene with a static statue or real version of an alien in it. Now this could point to loads of things. There could be bounties, there could be a really tough, difficult alpha that's up some mountain. That could be very cool.
By the terror, by the terror, by the terror! Is it really, really you?
Then we get a really cracking scene with an alien in it that doesn't look like it's supposed to be on land. It's halfway up a damned hill, but it's got this sort of squid-like tentacle thing going on, completely opposite to loads of the models we've been seeing so far. It also appears super aggressive, doesn't really have any visible teeth or spikes or anything. This was really cool to see something buck the trend of like the four-legged, six-legged whatevers. We've now got killer squids that are willing to scale a hillside just to get you in their tentacles. Incidentally, I'm also introducing all this to you chronologically of how it was revealed to us in those 45 minutes, and towards the end things get crazier and crazier and the cuts get quicker and quicker. There's some real madness in there. One of the things that it points out at this stage is about the companion and actually brainwashing almost some of the aliens to be on your side. No Man's Sky does this. It's kind of a temporary thing, but it's super interesting to explore.
I like the xenosociology skill because it lets you mind control aliens.
Okay, mind controlling aliens could be friggin' huge for this game. They could support you in combat. You could technically take them onto your ship. I'm not sure how that would work. You could sort of flesh out a role of a bounty hunter who just collects rare aliens. I imagine your ship having some compartment at the back where you keep them all in the cages. Could be so good. There's obviously going to be huge exploration on the indigenous alien life, but also I think on the botanical side and a lot of the plants, gathering, mining, finding like rare breeds. I'm really into that, and that's a major aspect for why I explore in No Man's Sky, is to sort of find something weird, find something strange. I think the aliens will fall into sort of three parts. There'll be like companion species, there'll be aggressors, and there'll be like passive that you just can't do anything with that are like furniture. I also think the aliens and monsters will play quite a big part in the campaign also, acting as like big boss fights. There'll probably be some sort of hive system, which reminds me there's something proper juicy coming up on that front.
You want to interact with each planet, whether you want to explore and see what you can find, harvest resources and be on your way, or simply take in the views.
There has been a lot of discussion about the real-time lighting techniques in the game, and a lot of that might point to the 30 frames per second. Bethesda, I think, have learnt their lesson with sort of overshooting on pre-game footage, so this is definitely all in-game, 90% of it is, and I'm just so impressed with how well they've handled these external scenes on the planets. It all looks very high effort. We are just clocking the scanning device, which will be something that you'll carry around and just, hoover up any unknown life forms or even get information on stuff you haven't discovered before. Beautiful scene here. The aliens sort of match the background. You can see their colours are similar to the rock surface and the sand, and these turquoises and contrasts. I hope to God it looks this good on day one.
We wanted to think of them as natural to the environment. We didn't want alien monsters. We wanted native wildlife. Something you've never seen before.
So yeah, then the reel just goes absolutely crazy and just smashes loads of quick cuts past you. This dude's really cool. I don't think it's got anything to do with that electricity, but I like the dinosaur paleo aspect. He says something very interesting, that he doesn't want the monsters to look too outlandish. They want to keep them nice and grounded. I do and don't like that idea. It's going to give it that realism. It's going to give it that sort of almost natural history vibe, but at the same time they're going to be bolted on to quite a lot of reality, but that should help with the immersion. And what we're seeing here, the species, the flying birds, some of the larger insects, they do exist to a certain life rule. Some of these things on No Man's Sky would not last 6 seconds out of the Darwin Gate, so I get what they're saying with wanting this direction to be a feasible construction for the aliens and indigenous creatures, and top marks for what we are shown in this short reel. That's one of the things from Far Harbor, pretty damn sure it's Atlantis. But the insect sort of meets dinosaur in the middle, mixed in with a little bit of killer squid, is certainly something I can get on with. But things take a slightly darker turn towards the end of the trailer.
You can also choose to go hands-on with melee weapons.
I think it's always a delicate balance between like what's realistic, what's sim, and what's Hollywood.
What the actual F is that? It's a sort of spiked sphincter mouth. It's got like arachnoid posture. It's got a big pustular main head. There's a hive material around it. This is my sort of side quest, and I hope this sort of stuff is littered everywhere. A sort of Love, Death and Robots style mean monster that's hauled up inside some derelict spaceship. Stunning stuff.
Brain Sprout.
Yeah, Brain Sprout. A little bit of No Man's Sky PTSD on this one as well, because I feel that's slightly repetitive, that structure already within this reel, but it's cool to see that fungus are getting involved. Maybe it's something to do with parasitical injection. And look at this scene. This is my sort of main quest. All you need is John Hurt to stick his face into one of these things. Absolutely amazing. If the whole planet's surface is like this, bring the flamethrower, I'm on board.
The thing that I enjoy most about the game is the freedom to be who you want to be, do what you want to do.
Let's rock!
I have, of course, been Couch Coop, and I recently put a video together about Fallout 4 and Skyrim, and potentially Starfield being the third pillar in that series. Links in description. I will see you then.
Brain Sprout.